Okay, everybody, so we're back in the sugi of Melaben again. Yesterday, I just want to clarify a couple of things that we ended off with yesterday. Now, Sameh, come join us. We were talking about the idea like this. We were talking about washing the Tilis Yadayim. The Olim were asking afterwards, Baruch Avruam, the Olim were asking afterwards, what's the din with the Tilis Yadayim? Taka, where's the Shriya? What's going on? Where's the Kibbutz? Derech Lichloch, what's going on? Every time I wash the Tilis Yadayim, I have to lift up my sleeve. Like, what's Pshat? So I do want to mention one thing. Yes, there are machmirim, meaning, yes, there are those that hold that you should definitely try to make sure that your sleeve is not in direct contact of the water as you pour it on. That for sure. However, I do want to mention a very important thing we did not say yesterday, which I think is important to say. And that is, there is a very important Tosfos Yishanim. Tosfos Yishanim explains a very important heter for us that we can learn for what with this halacha. And that is like this. So the Heilige Tosfos Yishanim, he says like this. Derech lichloch chayim. Derech lichloch, what does that mean? So until now we've explained derech lichloch to mean that if it's going in not in a clean way but it's dirtying it, that's not a problem of shuyas zeu kibuso. Memela, that's not an issa. Okay? The Tosfos Yishanim wants to say that derech lichloch doesn't only mean, okay, dirty water is going into the beged. Like, for example, this was the heta, Mati. This was the heta that when we take the towel and we wipe our hands after Natilis Yadayim, after Egelvas or whatever, that we are wetting the towel, which would be an issa, but we said it's okay because of derech lichloch, because it's dirty. There's always dirt on your hand. Memela, you're dirtying the beged. That's called derech lichloch. Memela, that's okay. So look, the Tosfos Yishanim, not only does it mean, it's a massive chiddush, by the way. Not only does it mean dirt is going into the beged, and therefore there's not an issa of shuyas zeu kibuso, but the Tosfos Yishanim, whenever you do not want the water to be there, that's called derech lichloch. It's a massive chiddush. The poskim used the Tosfos Yishanim as a limud schos, not mamash, because we don't paskin like it, we don't find it put down the halacha anywhere in Siman Shin Chaf or Shin Beis, obviously, which is the halachas that discuss these in Yonim. But upon him, they use it as a tziruf, and they say that if you see a guy that's washing negelvas or the Tilis Yadayim, and he's got his sleeve there, and the water's going on it, so you don't have to mamash rai Shabbos. You can say Pseidah, as though Tosfos Yishanim. Tosfos Yishanim holds, we use it as a tziruf, that I don't want it to be there. Memela, if I don't want it to be there, it's called derech lichloch. Memela, there's a makam to mekel. Chaim, are you with me? Yeah? Okay, Rabbi Toledano, good? Gavaldik. Let's move on to Rabotai. Spills, okay? Also a very important sugya that we have to discuss. When things spill on the floor, and this happens very, very often, it happens when the olim gets a zaman, Shabbos, the olim get together, sometimes, bottles spill, or water, I'm talking about Coca-Cola, obviously, it spills on the, if we're lucky, alcohol, then we're lucky, then it spills all over the floor, right, Yosef? Then it means it's going to be a good meal. If we can get the alcohol of the shaftamayim, basusa, and everything goes on the floor, better there than in the stomach, it's mayodik, mamish mayodik. Al kaponim. So, what is the din when it spill? Are you allowed to take something and make it wet? After all, shuyas zeu kibuso tells us that you cannot take a beged that is absorbent and make it wet. That is an issa, right? It's real. That's an issa of what? Melaben. You're not allowed to do that, right? It's the first stage in the cleaning process. So what is the heta? When something spills on the floor, everywhere it goes on, takes a shmata. And, puts it on. So there are a few halachas I want to split up in different categories. There's something called your makbid and something called your not makbid. Any beged that you are makbid on, makbid meaning you do not want it to get wet. It bothers you if it gets wet, then that is not allowed to get wet by putting it on a spill, for example. Let's take a simple example, a tablecloth. Nobody wants their tablecloth to get wet, right? Nobody wants a wet tablecloth. Therefore, to take a tablecloth and wipe up a spill on the floor will be problematic. Why? Because anything you're makbid that you don't want to get wet, there's a chashash, what? Zuk Menachem, Avada. There's a chashash, you're going to squeeze it out because I don't want it to be wet. So if the tablecloth gets wet, it's not a schmuck to have a wet tablecloth. I'm going to wring it out, I'm going to squeeze it out. And that's obviously skita. Skita Melaben is also daraisa. You can't do that on Shabbos, right? You throw them straight down the cliff, the pelt them with stones, and then you clap, have a suda afterwards, your side the next year. It's a moyodik motl, it's moyodik. It's going to be gavaldik. Al kaponim, so therefore if you're makbid, you have to be very careful. who are did in your tablecloth. You have a tablecloth at home. Be very careful not to get it wet. Obviously, bekavona. Should have bekavona is not your problem. But bekavona, you have to be careful not to get a tablecloth or something like that wet because you're makbid on it. Clothing. Nobody wants the clothing that they're going to wear or could wear on Shabbos Kodesh to be wet. Memela, you cannot use your clothing, Motcha, to go and clean up a spill. Whereas something you're not makbid on, for example, a shmata, right? The shmatas that are made meyuchad specifically to go and clean up spills, and people have them in their homes to do sponge or whatever. So there's no problem with that. Why? Because I'm not makbid on that. And if I'm not makbid, I don't care if it's wet. If it's wet, I'm not going to wring it out. I'm not going to squeeze it out because I don't mind if it's wet. Okay? Therefore, that's okay. The only problem is a few things. Number one, I think we're going to say a chiddush now, but I don't know if they have sponger cloths in Eretz Yisrael. In America, generally, it's not used so much, but if you have sponger cloths that are made to get wet, squeeze, get wet, squeeze, that's what people do, right? Mops, for example, right? In America, you have a mop, right? You have a stick with these things that come off it, right? In America, it's not zazach, you back in the Heim, right? Yeah? Uncle Sam's country, okay? Valdik. And Bekitza, are you allowed to use that on Shabbos? Are you allowed to wet that on Shabbos? I don't know if you're allowed to use that on Shabbos. No. Why not?
Because it's automatically made to be squeezed.
It's made to get wet, squeeze, wet, squeeze. That could be a problem. That could be, a sponge you can't use anywhere on Shabbos, it's muktzah. Sponge is mamash muktzah. We spoke about that yesterday, sponge is avada muktzah. That's but it's definitely a problem on Shabbos. Mine have given a Shabbos, the Rabbanon fire was also hot. Mine, let's go weiter. Okay, so therefore it makes enough communion what you're using. Another thing as well, Zachariah, is that when you do use a shmata, even if you're not makbid, and therefore it's okay to get it wet, but to use a small shmata on a very big spill is a problem. Why is that a problem? Huh? Well, because you're going to pick it up and squeeze it. It's going to happen. It's a small shmata with a huge spill. It's going to get soaking wet. The only way to remove it is through picking it up, which is going to cause schita. So when you do use a shmata, make sure you use a big enough one or many of them that will cover the whole spill and make sure that I still have space to be able to handle it, that it won't be automatically squeezed the moment I handle it. Is the olim with me? No, lav dafka. It's not a psik reisha. If it's not a psik reisha, if it's not vaday going to happen, then it's okay. If it does happen, that was what we call it einim mischaven. I have no kavana for that. That's okay. You with me? So far, is everybody with me? Rabbi said these are ma'aseh b'chol Shabbos. We have to know this. I got an email yesterday. Marty, this one's for you. I got an email yesterday from a yid somewhere in America. Doesn't make a difference where. And he says to me like this. Right, this is not B'mokim 12:15. Don't worry, we'll get 12:15. Don't worry. And he says to me like this. This is how he starts the email. I read it out to some of the olim that were in my office yesterday. I don't remember, you were there, right? It's a true email. And he says to me, "I'm a typical guy who went to a typical yeshiva in." And I got married, and I don't know how to answer the basic shaylas of Shabbos, right? What's the difference where he was? Doesn't make a difference where he came from, because we could probably apply it to most places. He grew up from religious, went to the system yeshiva, he learned Gemara, Gavaldik, now he got married, and he doesn't know anything. Gavaldik, okay. Nasameya is back, Baruch Hashem. Magic words. Okay, Rabbi Sai. So you guys have to know. You guys have to know what to do. What's going to be? You're going to get married. What's going to be? Your wife's going to ask you this shayla. 1 second, taste this in your vomits. Okay, what are you going to do? I always say this. I love this. This is a great line, by the way. Moshe, ready for this one? We are not teaching Hilchos Shabbos over here. You thought we are. You thought we're teaching Hilchos Shabbos. It's reverse psychology. We're not teaching Hilchos Shabbos, Chaim. What are we teaching? Shalom Bayis. These are Shalom Bayis classes. Why? Because you're going to get married and you're actually going to know what to do when your wife asks you. She'll be like, oh my gosh, wow, you actually know the answer. I thought I went to seminary and I know everything more than you and I'm going to have the upper hand. And you went to this yeshiva, boom, you actually know what you're talking about. Gavaldik, Rabbi Isai. Let's move on. What's that? /donate. No. What? Anyway. Bekitza. Moving on. The other, Mila, thank you. The other stage in Melaben is shifshuf, right? Shifshuf means scrubbing. So even if it's already wet from before Shabbos, and even if I'm not going to squeeze it, the etzem shifshuf is an is of Melaben. Just like a washing machine, the middle part, the middle stage, Zevi, is what? is the spinning with the water in it, scrubs the material together. Shivshuv is asa, which means, right now we're going to have to talk about many different cases. We're going to talk about if you have dry cholent on your suit, I might have to scratch it off with my nail. People do these things, Rabbi say. People do these things. We're going to have to see if it's mutter or nasa. I don't know where, but kaponim, we're going to have to talk about that. But shivshuv is asa because it's a chelik of the cleaning process, right? It's what you do when you want to wash something and clean it properly to remove the stain. You need to shivshuv, you need to scrub it out. So that's going to be problematic. If it's a beged, if it's a garment, it's a material like a suit, like a shirt, like pants, whatever. That's a vada asa. That's poshut. What if it's, for example, leather? What happens if on your leather shoe drops something, and we know that pouring liquid on it is okay because it's not absorbent, so there's no shviyasuzeu kibusai, there's no issue of getting it wet, it's not a beged, it's not a garment, it's hard leather, but shivshuv is osa. That means to scrub the leather shoe, to get rid of the stain or the mud or whatever may be on it, that will be osa. Right, that's going to be problematic. Now, unless it's completely not absorbent bichlal. For example, if you have a table, let's say this table gets dirty, and I don't want it to get stained, so I want to scrub off the stain, or I have a glass table at home, or you have a china plate, or a glass cup, or anything similar to that, and you have a stain there, and you want to scrub it off, that's fine. There's no Melaben, we said, by something that's completely not absorbent. Somebody mentioned yesterday, I can't remember who it was. Somebody mentioned yesterday, was you? You mentioned by something like, for example, a plate could be absorbent, like blias, right? We know by Basav Cholov. What do you mean it's not absorbent? Of course it's absorbent. It absorbs blias, but that's really blias, that's time through heat, whatever. We're talking about blia, like cleaning. A glass plate, a glass table, a hard wooden table, all of these things are not absorbent, and therefore to scrub them is no problem. We're talking about leather, which is a little bit absorbent. By the way, we didn't get to contact lenses yet. We will be talking about contact lenses. We haven't discussed it yet. Marty, don't worry, you stick around. You get everything. Yeah.
Are scrubbing and rubbing the same thing?
Yes, same thing. Which means on your leather shoe, to scrub, or take your finger and rub off the stain with liquid, that's going to be problematic. Ramosha talks about plastic. Plastic itinis is the same thing as leather, which means that if you have a plastic tablecloth and you get a stain over there, it could be that you can't soft plastic, not a hard, thick plastic maybe. It's absorbent in some level, and therefore your scrubbing is a problem. Rabbi say, one last halacha for today, also very important. We're speaking about shviyasuzeu kibusai. To make something wet is problematic. What we did not yet discuss is paper towels and disposable ware. For Moshe is a tshuva, and Rav Moshe writes a Gevaldig Azach, which is a massive kula for us, and we have to know this. Rav Moshe says that there is no Melaben legabe the halacha of shviyasuzeu kibusai by something disposable. Therefore, Zuk Rav Moshe, to take water and put it on a paper towel or tissue or something like that, there's no issa Melaben. Why not? What's the lomdus? The Maisa, it's a material, it absorbs and it's getting wet, and theoretically could have a stain that I'm getting out. So very simple. The issa Melaben is to clean something. Generally, you're cleaning something that you keep, something disposable that you throw out afterwards. You never keep, and therefore Moshe held that there is no issa Melaben, which is why there is no problem on taking paper towels or paper tissues or whatever, and taking and making cleaning up a spill or something, because there's no is of shviyasuzeu kibusai by something disposable. In Mitzvah Shem Rabbi say, I don't know about tomorrow, but on Sunday, Be'ez Hashem, we shall continue. Have a wonderful and beautiful day.